I'm Debbie. Welcome to Living Well with Living Foods. Today we're going to learn how to make banana bread, dehydrated banana bread. So we're going to use frozen ones today so you can see how to do it. First of all, these are frozen. And what I do is I run them under water, and I always keep the skin on, because when you keep the skin on, it keeps the flesh from turning brown or as brown. So we're taking all the skin off now. Bananas are really good for you. Unless you have a respiratory problem, then I wouldn't suggest that you eat bananas. We're going to put it, after we get them skinned, we're going to put them in our food processor. Bananas are very good for your heart. They're good for cardiovascular protection with their potassium and their fiber. I know everybody knows about potassium, but did you know there's lots of fiber in these too? See how nice those look? They almost look like they're fresh. Got my little compost bucket here. I would always save everything to put out in the garden or to give to our chickens. They love it. We're going to use 2 cups of bananas today. Normally I double this recipe because I like to make a lot at one time. But today we're going to just do a half a recipe. So 2 cups is what we're going to use. So cover your ears. We're going to blend these up. Okay. Right now it's all creamy, and if you didn't want to make banana bread, you could make ice cream with it right now and add a little vanilla and maybe a little bit of orange juice, and you have a nice vanilla type ice cream. And we did it all with frozen bananas. Now you can use fresh bananas too when they're a little bit older, because you want to have them when they're really, really sweet to make banana bread. So the next thing we're going to put in is 1/4 of a cup of orange juice to add for sweetener, kind of, and also to keep it from turning too brown. So squeeze these out of fresh orange just a little while ago. I'll add that to the mix. We're going to mix that up. And then we're going to add to it some vanilla. We're going to add 1½ teaspoons of vanilla. Gosh, this looks so good, I might just eat it for ice cream. And the next thing we're going to add is our flours. Now, the flours that I have here is I have 3 flours mixed in here. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, I've got amaranth, I've got kamut, and I've got millet in this one. Normally I put barley, but millet will do too. And since I'm only using half a recipe, this is a full recipe right here. I'm going to take just 1.5 cups of this out. And then we're going to add our raisins. Now, I really like to have in here cran raisins, but I didn't have any, so I had made some of my own raisins this last year and dried them. But I didn't make them whole raisins. What I did is I sliced them, and then they dried within a day, or about 24 hours, instead of taking a week. So we're going to put a cup of raisins in here. The only problem with these kind of raisins is they tend to stick to one another. That's the bummer about them. But they sure taste a lot better. I tell you, the raisins that you get in the store have sulfur on them and other things, and it changes the taste of the grape. Whereas if you do it yourself without that, it doesn't taste bad. I use these actually in place of dates. Okay, dokie. Now see, you see how these stick together, so I'm going to kind of have to pull them apart a little bit. Raisins are really good for you. They're high in iron. They're good for your heart also. This is a really heart-healthy recipe, because the nuts I'm going to put in here are almonds, and almonds are very, very good for your heart. Almonds are really good too. They have good fat in them that'll actually help reduce fat in your body and help you to lose weight, if you don't overdo it, of course. That's one thing about anything. You know, the scripture says to be temperate in all things, and so you don't want to overdo anything. You know how some people say, if a little's good, more is better? That's not true. Okay, now we're going to mix our raisins into our batter. Sound like little pebbles in there going around. Okay, now we're going to put about 1/2 to 3/4 of a cup of almonds in there. Okay, I decided that we should put the almonds in the food processor and just blend them up. It's a lot easier than trying to do it by hand. So that's what I did. Here they are. And so you want a few chunks in there. Can you see in there? Got a few chunks in there, some really fine. And then we're going to add some cinnamon. 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. I keep lots of measuring spoons around because I'm always using them. And you don't want to forget the salt. Salt brings out the sweetness in it. Calls for 1 teaspoon, so we'll probably put in about 1/2 teaspoon there. And this isn't that sweet, so I have in the recipe also that you can put in a tablespoon of agave. So we're going to do that. Now, this is pretty thick, and usually I use a lot more bananas, and I will actually use up to probably 8 cups of bananas and still use just 3 cups of flour in it. So, but this one, that's just 1.5 cups. So now what we're going to do is we're going to spread this out on our Tex Flex sheet to dehydrate. Right there. And you don't have to use the flours that I said. You can use whatever flours you happen to have. You can use barley, you can use rye, you can use oat, but I haven't found that oat really comes out that great for some reason. So, the best ones are barley, kamut, and I'd say rice flour or something like that. A mild grain. You'll spread this out about 1/4 to 1/2 inch, and you dehydrated it until it's dry, but still soft if you like it soft. If you like it more like a cracker, you can dry it harder, and it'll come out like a cracker, which you will like too. That's how I usually do it, but I like to leave a little softness there to it. Otherwise it doesn't taste like banana bread. And when it comes out of the dehydrator, that's when it tastes the absolute best, because it tastes like fresh banana bread. You know how that tastes. So there you have it. And we'll pop this into the dehydrator for overnight, and at 115 degrees. And before, let's see, right now it's like 5:30, so in a couple of hours it'll be probably dry enough for me to take my pizza cutter, and I will cut this into squares, and also flip it. I'll flip it off of the sheet here onto this perforated sheet and let them dry overnight, and they should be just about right in the morning. Okay, so our banana bread is about 4 hours done, just before we're about to go to bed. And so I've taken it out, and I'm going to show you now how to cut it and flip it and let it dry overnight. So let's look at how I do this. Flip it over, peel it off, and then I'm going to cut it. I usually use a pizza cutter because it works a lot better than a knife. Looking good. Smells good too. And there we have it. So I'm going to put it back in the dehydrator, and we'll get it out in the morning.